I've been listening to your talks on YouTube for almost every day for a year now. One of the themes that comes up frequently, and I think it relates to these last two questions, the three states of waking, dreaming, and deep sleep.
Deep sleep.
So the phrase deep sleep is not the absence of awareness, it's the awareness of absence.
Yes.
I love that statement. It's poetic, it's thought-provoking,
I thought I came up with it until I saw Rupert Spira has used it. Yes.
But it's beautiful. And it's inspiring, but there's also something about it that perplexes me, and I'm hoping you can help me with that.
Yes.
So it seems, I love the idea that's the awareness of absence, but it seems like it's predicated on waking up again.
Mm.
Like if we're in a coma forever or we die,
Yeah.
then is there awareness? And I know that blankness is not consciousness. It's another object, but there seems to be a gap there, like a miracle gap.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if you can help me with that perplexity.
And it's important to focus on that gap. Why? See, right now, all our experiences are mediated through the mind. Yes, I am consciousness, Vedanta says, but all our experiences are consciousness plus mind. Plus senses and objects, that's called waking. Minus the senses and objects, just mind and consciousness, that's called dreaming. But whatever we consider as an experience is this waking world and the dream world. The moment mind shuts down, deep sleep, anesthesia, maybe coma. Coma, it's a little doubtful. There are multiple types of coma, it seems. In some horrible thought, they are actually awake internally, it seems. No, it's proven because they have afterwards awakened and told us they were aware at that time. Even anesthesia seems to be of various types of effect. Anyway, deep sleep, let's say deep sleep, anesthesia, some types of coma. Where the mind has gone to sleep, the mind is shut down. And therefore, from our perspective, when we look back upon that seems to be like nothing. Nothing at all. Blank. Not only that, even to say that I was the witness of that blankness, it seems I have to wake up to be able to say that. And that is true. In order to think about it, reflect about it, and say it, you have to wake up. Because without waking up, neither mind will be active, nor speech will be there. It won't be possible. But that does not negate the fact that that blankness was presented to consciousness. Without the mind. Two problems. One, because it is without the mind, and whatever we think of as experience is basically mind mediated, it looks like no experience at all. It's easy to dismiss it as nothing. That's one problem. The second problem is, to even formulate these positions and these arguments, you need the mind again. And so you have to come back to the waking world to formulate it. But none of it obviates or disproves the contention that an absence was presented to awareness. This, what you said, is an important point, because there are philosophers, certain schools of Buddhists, for example, who dispute this, that deep sleep is presented to awareness, is an absence presented to awareness. They say that, hey, you're just back calculating. You're waking up, since you are so addicted to the idea of continuous consciousness. You are waking up and you are saying that, oh, actually I was conscious at that time, just the mind was not working, it was blankness presented to consciousness. This is just a way of, balancing the credit and debit sides of the balance sheet. But it's not true. In deep sleep, no consciousness was there, no object was there, no subject was there. What was there? Is deep sleep equal to nothing then? There, it's very interesting. The Buddhist will keep quiet. Don't speak. Are you saying no object was there, no subject was there, and there's nothing other than subject and object, so it was nothing, zero, nihil, void in the sense of utter nothingness? The Buddhist will say, no, not that either. What was there, one cannot speak of. That's what the Buddhist will say. The Vedantin says, that's what we are saying also. when we use that absence was presented to consciousness, we think of consciousness the way we are thinking of consciousness now, as a subject aware of an object. But it's not like that there. And therefore it feels like, no, there is no consciousness there. It's very odd to say that darkness itself is the object and I was the subject. I am sitting even closing my eyes or sitting in a dark room, I have a certain sense of personal subjectivity, experiencing a darkness. That's because the mind is functioning there. Knock out the mind, then what remains? Allied to this would be a question, I would say an even more subtle question, is, so therefore, does consciousness need an object to become aware of itself? When I am using consciousness to become aware of objects, what is happening? Two things are happening. One is, it's like light. Light manifests all objects. Light illumines all objects. Light illumines all objects. Without light, everything would be in darkness. So when you switch on a light, it illumines all objects. That's what light does for objects. But what do objects do for the light? Objects manifest the light. Suppose there were no objects and light is streaming through, say, outer space. What does it look like? Darkness. The moment a comet goes through that, the comet is lit up, blazing. Does the comet carry its own internal light? Not at all. There is light streaming from the sun, pervading the space, but it looks dark because there is nothing for the light to be reflected of. The moment the comet passes through it, you see the blazing tail of the comet because it's now reflecting the existing light. Light was already there. Have you seen satellites go in just after sunset in the evening, in twilight? It looks like darkness, but suddenly you see twinkling satellites going past. What's happening? There is actually light there. The earth has fallen into darkness. The sun has gone over the horizon, but light is there. It just takes an object to reflect that light. So the light illumines the object, but the object manifests the pre-existing light, without which the light would look like darkness. So object in our consciousness, what does consciousness do? We become aware of objects. Consciousness gives us experience of the objects. But what do the objects do for consciousness? They manifest the consciousness. It becomes a conscious experience. We become aware of ourselves as consciousness. Because my consciousness illumines this object. I know the book. But then, secondarily, I also know myself as knowing the book. Without the book, without any object at all, there would be nothing to know, but would I also know that I exist? This is the deep question. So, two levels of answer. What's the answer, Vedantic answer to that question? If you appreciate that question also requires understanding of yourself as awareness. Then the question will become important. The Vedantic answer to that question is at two levels. One level is what I gave you, that consciousness illumines, reveals all objects, and simultaneously the objects manifest you as consciousness. Then the question will arise, so consciousness depends on the objects for in some way at least. That would be the Sankhyan position. The Sankhyan position is there is consciousness and there is material nature. Prakriti, Purusha and Prakriti. And they depend on each other. But the Advaitic position is that material nature is nothing other than that Purusha, other than consciousness. That's what we studied today. The whole of this universe is your radiance. Since the material nature, even the objects are nothing but the radiance. The light and object example breaks down here. Because the light is not the object. There is a book and there is a light. But the light is not the book. But here we are saying you, the consciousness, are the objects also, like in a dream. So, when the objects manifest you as consciousness, it's not that you, the consciousness, depends on those objects. Rather, those objects depend on you. They depend on you for their very existence. That's one answer. The second and the deeper answer, the subtler answer, for this I'm borrowing this from a Vedantin called Atmananda Krishna Menon. He lived in Kerala and 1950s, 60s he was teaching at that time. He says, those who think that consciousness depends upon the objects for its manifestation have not understood. It does not even depend on the objects. Even if, whether the objects are independent like Sankhya or the objects are an appearance of consciousness itself like Vedanta, in either case, consciousness is self-luminous. Even without objects, consciousness is self-revealing. How? It's a very subtle matter. You certainly need the world, the body, speech and mind to say, I exist. You at least need the mind to think, I exist. But even without saying I exist, even without thinking I exist, do you exist or not? You exist. And is that existence a dark existence, unrevealed existence? That's the question. Vedanta says if you ponder on the nature of consciousness, you will see in a very subtle way consciousness is continuously self-revealed. It really does not require an object. You don't really require the universe or its objects or the body or speech or mind. But yes, it becomes much more manifest, much more objectified with the mind, with speech, with body and with the universe. You're talking about things at the edge of language and thought. So I don't know how to make it more clear than that.
Yeah, very, very.